Do you often feel drained, overwhelmed, like you give too much of your own energy, too much of your own support and listening ear and all those things without receiving? Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Authentic Podcast and YouTube here. I'm going to be talking about the lack of boundaries and how that relates to a blood deficiency within traditional Chinese medicine. Something that I see often is my clients and patients and even past versions of myself feeling drained and overwhelmed and even taking on too much energy. Oftentimes that tells me that there is a lack of boundaries. There's a lack of physical boundary, sometimes relational boundary, and energetic boundaries. From a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, this can point to a deeper rooted cause called blood deficiency. And the reason why blood is so important in the body is in this video, I'm going to be talking about it, but let's get started in just the very basics of understanding traditional Chinese medicine, because traditional Chinese medicine is a system of understanding the body holistically based off of the energetics of nature. So we use yin and yang, which talks about these two dual energies. Yin is the earth, yang is heaven. Yin is us sleeping and nighttime, yang is the daytime and its activity. So we always have those two energies playing out in our life. On another level, down within, deeper into the yin and yang system, we have the 5 element system, which is then again based off of nature. It's based off of the 5 elements: fire, wood, metal, earth, and water. And then in different traditions, looking at the elements, wood is often looked at as ether or space. So depending on what traditions or cultures or perspectives you're looking at the elements in, it's going to show you, and it's going to be similar in those different ways and maybe have some differences as well. So that's important to note. Let's go deeper into understanding fluids and important fluids in the body, so important substances in the body. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we say that we work on the qi, we work on the life force energy that runs and moves and transforms all things. In Chinese medicine, we say that qi has functions. It's going to transform, it's going to warm, it's going to raise, it's going to lift, right? And at the same time, there is not just qi that we're working with in traditional Chinese medicine. We're also working with blood. And blood is more of a thicker substance, right? Whereas qi is more ethereal, it's more unseen, right? It's more of the yang. Yin and blood is like we can see blood, right? When we get a cut on our finger, we can see blood. It's a thicker substance, it's visible. And so in traditional Chinese medicine, we're working with both qi and blood. So we say something in Chinese medicine that qi is the commander of blood, but blood is the mother of qi. And that's really important because you realize, I had this realization the other day that I was like, they go together. Anytime there's no qi, there's no blood. And anytime there's no blood, there might not be qi there. So it's really important, these two dynamics. And again, that relates us to yin and yang as well, because yin, again, is the blood and yang will be the qi. And so blood is very much a foundational substance and nourishment for our mind, our muscles, our heart, all aspects of our body. And it's carrying the oxygen we need to different places of our body, bringing nourishment. On an energetic level, we say in traditional Chinese medicine that the blood carries the spirit, it carries the shen. And so anytime where we feel like we feel tired or fatigued, or maybe we feel like emotionally unstable, or maybe we're having some like anxiety, anxiousness, right, that's coming up, or we have some heart palpitations, things like that, it's oftentimes connected to our blood and what our blood is doing. So again, this is in a traditional Chinese medicine view. From a Western point of view, allopathic medicine point of view, it's a little different, right? From a Chinese medicine point of view, we say that the spirit, the shen of the person lives in the blood. It houses in the blood, and the blood lives in the heart. And that makes sense because all blood is going to return to the heart, and then it's going to go all the way back out throughout different parts of the body, come back into the heart to become oxygenated. And so what's really interesting is when we have a blood deficiency. So blood deficiency in traditional Chinese medicine can show up as literally what it sounds like: a lack of blood nourishing our muscles, our skin, our hair, different parts of our bodies. We can even have people who menstruate, we can have different menstrual symptoms that come up during that time, or during our cycle. It can even show up as symptoms such as fatigue, pale skin, brittle nails, brittle hair, feeling scattered and ungrounded, feeling like that anxiety, and feeling easily to get overwhelmed. So, like, because we don't have that substance, that's yin is very grounding and blood is very grounding. So, when we have a lot of blood in our system, it's very grounding. We feel really in our body. Whereas when we don't have enough blood, when we're blood deficient, or what we would say in biomedicine as anemia, right? But in a traditional Chinese medicine sense, when there's a lack of blood happening in the body, there's lack of nourishment, but there's more space for qi to rise, right? For qi to keep going and to rise. And so we often feel a little scattered. We feel a little ungrounded. We don't feel like a good sense of our body. And so that's really something important to think about when we're thinking about our body in terms of how it gets nourished by our blood, and also how our mind gets nourished as well. And this can cause what we're talking about today, which is boundaries. Because when we have blood in our body, it gives us a sense of understanding who we are. We feel grounded in our body. We can become more embodied, meaning inside of the body, being in our own body. And that's really important. So, when we're blood deficient, we sort of, our capacity and our resilience is lowered a bit because we don't have that grounding, because we don't have enough yin to nourish our muscles and different organs and our heart as well, and to also receive our emotions and process our emotions and keep us cool, calm, collected in our emotions, because yin also has that quality of being cooling, being calming, being grounding and soothing. If we don't have enough yin or blood in the body, then we're going to kind of go on the opposite end, which is feeling a little bit more scattered, a little bit more anxious, maybe feeling like a less more insecure with our emotions, things like this. This can also show up as a lack of boundaries, right? We might find it hard to say no. We might find it hard to have a sense of ourself and our own truth and be able to speak that into our environment, because that lack of blood, that lack of grounding in our own selves through the blood deficiency is not allowing for us to have that chi to then say, hey, this is what I need. This is my boundary. I don't want this. And that leads to people pleasing tendencies, things like that. So it's really important, because the blood is also very connected to the heart, and the heart is connected to our emotions. So anytime we have anger or fear or joy, any of the emotions, it's going to impact our heart. And our heart is going to interpret that from a Chinese medicine perspective. So if blood is not nourishing the heart properly, then that leaves a fertile ground and environment for there to be emotional instability and capacity to receive emotions or even stress, right? So this is really important. So let's talk about how we can then replenish blood, because blood is an important substance in our body. It's going to be the mother of qi, right? Qi is our life force. Qi is the energy we need to go out and fulfill our dreams and do the things and go to work and have good health, right? So we want qi in our body. We want qi in our tissues. We also want blood in our tissues. So how we can replenish blood is through eating dark leafy greens. If that feels a little bit too cold for you in terms of energetics, because eating raw foods in traditional Chinese medicine isn't the biggest thing. So eating steamed dark leafy greens, beets are a great one. For those of us who eat meat, then having like bone broths, red meats periodically, and also doing the yin activities, right? Doing a lot of the resting and digesting, making time for restoration, because that is also yin. When we allow ourselves to be in that yin, be in the restoration, be in the resting, allow our body to digest, allow ourselves to deactivate after a really active day, after a lot of work and stress and overwhelm, all these things that are going on, allowing ourselves to decompress from that stress, from the activity, and really giving yourself those moments. So that way, when you're in the yin, you can then cultivate yin, right? When you're in the environment of yin, you can cultivate more yin. And that's really, really, really helpful as well. You can also work with herbs such as goji berries. Long gone fruits are really wonderful as well for replenishing blood. And when we're talking about boundaries from a body perspective, we can look at the organ that is physically a boundary for the heart, which is called the pericardium. The pericardium is really important within Chinese medicine. And stay tuned, I'm going to create more information and videos about the pericardium as an energetic boundary. But we can even focus and meditate on that we physically are born with a boundary around our heart, a boundary around our emotions, the house of our blood. And so that boundary wants to protect us from pathogens and bacteria, but also from emotional pain and difficult relationships and difficult situations. So we can focus on our body having that natural function and doing practices such as somatic mindfulness, really just observing what's there, what's present in ourselves. Doing things like yin based qigong and journaling is also really helpful at getting a sense of knowing ourselves, knowing our own energetic being and our own being on many, many different levels. So my call to action, if this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you are listening to this on podcast, please leave a review. Please, yeah, share with your friends and share with those who you think you would really resonate with this. I also wrote an article about this exact topic on my website. And thank you so much for joining me here and listening. I will see you in the next video.